Do you know your seller's disclosure requirements? We'll go over every single one of them next on Tom's Take. You're definitely going to want to watch this one. A lot of buyers and sellers are not aware of the legal requirements when it comes to disclosure in Pennsylvania. And this doesn't apply to every state. So what I want to do today is go over some frequently asked questions about what's in the disclosure statement and exactly what you need to be looking for or need to disclose depending on if you're a buyer or a seller. So the general theme here in the standard document, it's a seller's property disclosure statement. It's 10 pages long. And the general theme here is disclose known defects. So things you know that aren't working properly in the home. Have you had a leak? Was there an electrical malfunction? Is there a structural issue? They're going to ask specific questions in here, and the answers are going to be yes, no, unknown, or NA. And in some cases, they'll ask for specifics. Unknown is a fine answer. It's very difficult to know everything. And if you get into a situation where there's a disclosure question, it's also very difficult to prove who knows what. So if you don't know something, that's okay. So known material defects is the disclosure requirements. There's a couple instances where you don't have to fill out the form. So if you're an executor or executrix, so it's an estate sale, you're an administrator or it's a trustee or power of attorney. So those are examples where you're not required to fill out the form until something is made known to you, then you've got to fill it out and answer the questions. So just because you're handling an estate, if you find out the place has mold or there's an electrical problem or something of that ilk, that's when you need to disclose it to people involved. So very, very clear there. It's not a blanket, hey, I'm going to hide behind this because it's an estate. There's some specific language around it. Additionally, if it's a transfer that's a result of a court order or a family member or between spouses from like a divorce or a legal separation, there's 10 exclusions listed on the front page here, and we're happy to send you a full copy of the document. In those cases, a disclosure is not required. A foreclosure is another example when the lender takes over the property. So not all the time does it have to be filled out. So the last thing I want to hit on here, and this is one of the most important questions, is when do you know something? So let's say you're in a transaction, right? And the agent finds out about a defect. When the agent and your agent as a seller finds out about a defect, that's the equivalent of a seller knowing about the issue. So if an inspection report gets sent to your agent, there's a disclosure requirement. If an invoice gets sent saying, hey, there's termites in the property and you weren't aware of termites before, now you are as the seller. These are really critical things to go over. And what I want to share with you here is that there's not room for error in this. If you think you technically don't have to disclose something, you're likely going to have to, and it's not the situation where you want to hide anything. This is a legally binding document. So when you know about something and you're trying to argue with yourself, hey, maybe I don't need to share this, you're wrong. And that's where you can get into a lot of trouble legally and especially with the transfer of a property. So the last thing I'll share with you here is the type of properties that need a disclosure statement. So here's what it says right on the first page. Generally speaking, the requirement is that there's not less than one dwelling and no more than 4 dwellings on the property, and these are residential dwellings. So if it's a commercial property, not required. If it's a multi-unit above 4 units, that's an apartment building. This form's not required. It's in a commercial sale. So different rules and different laws apply depending on the use. So we hit on a lot of stuff here. When to disclose, known defects, standard form. Agent and seller are the same in a real estate transaction when it comes to knowing what to fill out and what to disclose. Estates, admins, trustees, power of attorneys, or some of the exceptions on page 1, not required to fill out the form unless you find out about something after the fact, and it's less than 1, more than 4 units, also would not apply. So we threw a lot at you here, and this document's a lot more involved, so if you want specifics, you got questions about a disclosure issue, you know where to reach us, feel free to get in touch. We're happy to help, and we'll be back next week. You're definitely going to want to watch this one.